That's the good stuff. Welcome all. Hope folks are doing well. Let me know that I'm coming through. Oh, I know what I forgot. I will be right back. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's better. Ms. Wicked Wolf, if you think this is Jack Daniels, you need to learn what a Jack Daniels bottle looks like. What's the story with the hat on the dresser? It's my bowler hat. I took it down out of the closet months ago and haven't put it back. I need to get it repaired is what I need to do. I need to take it to my local haberdashery and get that sorted out. Sorry, hang on. Oh yeah, 255. The whole continuing to tickle and being told to stop. That's actually, I'd say, a long running issue just with how a lot of people handle kids. Like, you assume because they're laughing that, that they're having fun, but like it's an involuntary reaction. So, no. Happy Bisexual Visibility Month to you too. Am I visible enough for you? Thank you, Amber. I appreciate that. Rachel Lillis. I don't have a clue who that is, John, so I'm going to go out on a limb and say no. No, I have not heard. That's funny, Gedron, because I happen to already have that, but when Serenity was in theaters, I went to a screening in Boston as part of its limited initial release before it went wide. And some of the, I forget who was there. There were a couple of the actors were there. And I wore that hat and the closest I could get to throwing the rest together, which wasn't great. It wasn't good enough to really count as cosplay, but I did try. I mean, probably eventually Ms. Wicked Wolf. It's not necessarily at the top of my list. If I read the story where the bad guys' motivations are so well developed, you kind of want them to win. No, not off the top of my head, largely because if I find myself actively rooting for the villain, then you've done your story wrong. You know what I mean? Like, there are times that I'm empathetic towards villains. That doesn't mean I want them to win. Like, if I actively want the villain to win, you messed up. So it's probably happened, but nothing's leaping to mind. I have only ever seen 2 episodes of it, Adrian. Seemed fine, but I haven't seen enough to say whether or not I can't count myself as a fan. I haven't seen enough, but I'm not going to say like, not a fan. Like, in the sense of like, not for me. I don't know. Haven't really watched it. Maybe if the hero's really, really boring. I mean, there are times when I have more fun with the villains, but that's not the same as rooting for them. Like, Skeletor is more fun than He-Man. That doesn't mean I root for him to win. And that's true of pretty much every incarnation of Masters of the Universe, to be clear. I don't even need to specify, and that comment can still stand. You seen the Dogpack video that exposed Jimmy / Mr. Beast? I don't know who Dogpack is. And so, no. Like, John, I feel like you're asking about an entire area of YouTube that, like, I just don't. I still don't know what Mr. Beast does or why he's famous, and I don't care. Don't tell me. So I don't care about him being exposed, and I don't know who Dogpack is, and I just, all of this. I am very happy to be ignorant of these things. Every now and then I'll hear something about a channel or whatnot that I otherwise don't know a lot about, but the thing itself is interesting enough. I'll still like this happened with the Watcher thing. Like, I found that situation interesting enough that even not knowing their work that much, I was still like, huh, I have thoughts. But, like, by and large, this kind of stuff comes up, I'm like, okay. Halloween is in more than a month. It takes place next month, but it is more than 1 month. Any books / comics you wish you could catch up on reading? This is caught up on my back issues of 255. I'd like to catch up on Sluggy Freelance, to be honest. I am going to count webcomics. Oh, Evisceration. Thank you very much for the super chat. Have a little gay heart of appreciation. Thank you very much. There's a character in My Hero Academia who's desperate to kill his dad and brother because he passed him over for his younger brother when he realized his powers were defect. I'm assuming there's a second half of this coming because that feels like an incomplete thought. Halloween can take place every day if you want it to. I mean, if you're motivated enough. Ms. Wicked Wolf. Like, you say that every single time I do it. You can stop now. You can stop. It's the biggest Volt face you've ever done on a movie on a subsequent viewing. I'm not sure what that means. I'm assuming you mean like an about face, like taking a completely different opinion on it on a subsequent viewing. Maybe clarify that for me, Phil. I managed to do both Missy and the singing gig for Gallifrey Cabaret. What outfit should I do for the upcoming wall? Ooh. Well, first of all, congrats on those. Excuse me. Okay, I don't know if this one's weird, Ava, but like the first thing that comes to mind is I kind of want to see you do something with Clara and the Raven. I don't even know what, but I feel like just pitching you that, you'll come up with something. Or heck, just be the Raven. Get somebody else to be Clara. I could see you doing that. Supreme Omega. Thank you very much for the super chat. Do you feel the marriage was unfairly scapegoated for a lot of Spidey's 90s troubles, such as the robot parents and Clone Saga thoughts? I have not personally encountered anyone who specifically blamed Peter's marriage for the state of what was going on with the 90s. Like, 90s comic books were bad. Like, they were just a mess. And that had nothing to do with the fact that Spider-Man was married. So I've never heard anyone try and scapegoat the marriage for the other nonsense that went on. That's a new one to me. So I guess my thoughts are, I have not heard that argument. And if I were to hear that argument, I would think that is a very strange take. Sorry, yes, it's a Frenchified version of About Face. Complete reversal of opinion. I'm not sure I have. I think the closest that I've had, I have had distinctly different opinions, but not, I can't think of one that's a full of about face. Like, I've certainly had plenty of instances where I came away from something going, stuff is bothering me about this movie, and then one of two things happens. Either on a subsequent viewing, I go, you know what, the stuff that bugged me doesn't bother me so much. I think I'm okay. Or it'll be that, oh, that stuff that bugged me is now really bugging me. It's gone in both directions, but I was still, like, it's still not quite the same as an about face. Like, examples of both of those, the first Wonder Woman movie, I came out of it, was like, that was fine. I've got some things about that. And then on subsequent viewings, like, the things that bugged me, I just didn't care anymore. And then there was The Last Jedi, which I came out going, I don't think I really liked that, but I don't know. There was also some real good stuff in it. And then later on just going like, no, I really didn't like that. You know, the stuff that bugged me didn't go away. And it kind of dug in. That's about as close as I get to that, at least off the top of my head. Like that's the thing. Like me trying to plumb my memory palace is it's not my best skill. His dad told him his only purpose in life was being a hero until he was like 8 and then gave up on him when he realized his fire powers burned him. He ran away and became a villain. A lot of anime family dynamics just feel like soap operas to me, and that's fine. I just don't really have an opinion on them. Like, if you're just going to present to me the dynamics or somebody's origin, I'm like, oh, I just kind of go like, okay, yeah, that sounds like anime. Sure. Coyote Azul, thank you very, very much for your generous super chats. I appreciate. I don't know what that voice was. Which fandoms / subcultures, in your opinion, that tout themselves as open and tolerant, really aren't that much in practice? Oh. Huh. I'm trying to think if there's an answer I'm comfortable giving publicly. So, like, here's the thing. I'm not sure I'm going to give you a straight answer to that. What I am going to say is I don't think it's quite as black and white as that. I think what can happen is that you have groups that are open and tolerant in certain areas, but very restrictive in others, but present themselves as if they're open and tolerant in all areas. I'm not sure if that's quite what you're talking about, but I actually would think that's incredibly common. I think most groups that have a bragging point of being open and tolerant have some areas that they're actually can often, not always, but often be pretty restrictive and closed-minded about. And I think that's typical of pretty much any group like that. It's just a question of where the lines get drawn. But like in a broader sense of like, oh, they claim to be open and inclusive, and like they're just not, just flatly, I'd never describe them that way. I'm not sure there's anything that I would feel comfortable putting that kind of label on. But I would say that most open and inclusive communities, organizations, fandoms, subcultures, etc., definitely have lines that they draw. It's just a question of how honest they are with themselves about the fact that they do that, if that makes sense. Anachronism Girl. Love the name. First of all, just want to say I love the Ursula mug. Thank you. I do too. I love what's in it. Let's see here. Hey, Generation Productions. I used to joke and say the majority of shonen anime was soap operas for teen boys. I mean, I'm not sure that's a joke. I think that's a statement of fact. Maybe a better term might be Herrenvolk fandom. Now you're just throwing words I don't know at me. Nails are pretty. Thank you. I actually did them with purpose on this hand this time. Did them in gender fluid pride colors. Favorite video that you have ever made? I don't know. Like I have favorites. I don't think I have a favorite singular, but you know, stuff that I'm really proud of. The Death of Superman 90s Comics retrial video I'm still really proud of. The How to Fix Ghostbusters 2 video, the Watchmen video. I'm really proud of how the interview I did with R2, the Has Been Hotel storyboard artist. I'm real proud of how that came out. That was earlier this year. But I don't have a singular favorite, I don't think. Noah Ben, thank you very much for the super chat. What do you think is 15's best outfit so far? You know what? I feel like I need to pull up a list. Hang on. Let me see here. You know, so I'm going back and forth between the sort of check pattern coat and the orange shirt, which we saw like from his very first appearance, to the between that and the and that one's like a full suit look, like it's the coat and the pants to match. That and the sort of brown leather long coat with the blue pants and it's not really rainbow, but it's this multicolored striped, primarily orange vertical with a zip. It's between those two. Orange and brown are good colors on him. Like not to say that he hasn't worn stuff like the blue well, he has, but orange and brown are real good colors on him. He wears them very well. Let's see what else we got. Purple Raider, thank you very much for the super chat. Yes, finally, I've missed like the test, I've missed like the last 10 of these. So happy to be here. Did you miss me? Of course we did. Happy to have you back. Would you welcome the reintroduction of intermission for very long movies? Personally, I find 3+ hours without a bathroom break inhumane. I don't know. Here's what I will say. Way too many of the movies put out in theaters are way longer than they have any business being. We are currently suffering from a glut of movies that should not be 2 hours, much less over 2 hours. There's a lot of things like that out there right now. I think a lot of movies that are 2.5 hours should be 2 hours, and a lot of movies that are 2 hours should be 1:45. But if a movie genuinely earns its 2.5 hour plus runtime, I don't know. Like, unless they purposefully built in a point where that works as an intermission, I'd be inclined to say no. Just because if it justifies its runtime, I'm not gonna want to have it broken up. Like, the thing to remember with things like theater is plays literally have the intermission written into the script. They specifically are designed around the idea that there's going to be a break. Unless you start designing long movies like that, then you're just picking an arbitrary midpoint and probably massively disrupting the experience. And I understand having to get up to use the bathroom is also massively disruptive, but I feel like we're just deciding how we've messed up at that point. Sometimes I go back and rewatch your shorts. Well, they're quick, so sure. There's also your video on YouTubers who came out on the channel. Yeah, that one's pretty good. I saw that hedgehog again. I opted to just ignore it. this time. It's not my job to save it from getting run over every night. That is true. Best of luck to it. I saw a rabbit over the weekend. Wild rabbit. It was cute. Also, there was a squirrel that was very ballsy. It was like 5 feet from me, just staring at me. It was like a showdown in a Western movie. I was waiting for him to go draw. Which newly regenerated Doctor do you think looked the best in their predecessor's outfit? Whitaker looked pretty good in 12's outfit. Honestly, especially the fact that it was kind of raggedy and torn up, it actually looked quite good on her. Recently started watching the Netflix show Lucifer. I was wondering if you had any opinions on that show. I stopped watching Lucifer after I think it was 3 episodes. Not because it was bad, but just because I didn't find Lucifer interesting enough as a character to stick with. Like, I see what the appeal of him is, but the way he was played felt very much like he should have been a supporting character in somebody else's story. Now, like, maybe it evens out, maybe it gets better, but like, it's one of those many things I'm like, I don't have the time to sink who knows how long into this to wait for it to become more up my alley. I've got other stuff to do. It didn't seem bad. It just seemed like, let me try something else. I think there's an actual coyote in my area. Kind of little bastards they are. Yeah, we get all kinds of stuff around here. Like in like on my block in my local area, you know, there's stuff like skunks, woodchucks occasionally. You go off road a little bit and you have the potential to run into a bear, which that's a genuine danger around here depending on the time of year. You know what I imagine whenever I watch Old Who? A cross-legged 10-year-old watching it with some fish and chips in front of them because I think that's what the creators imagined. With the sofa close by for them to dive behind as needed. Yep, sounds about right. Oh, I'm sure it's been many, Ms. Wicked Wolf. What do you think of Clara and Eleven together? I've gone on the record saying, Kate, that Clara had way better chemistry with Capaldi than she did with Smith. Now, granted, part of the problem with her and Smith was that during that back end of Series 7, she was not very well characterized. People will argue me with that, but they're wrong because they cheat, because they count stuff from Governess Clara and Oswin, and I don't think that counts unless it's a rewatch. On first watch, you don't know if those are literally meant to be the same person, and I think it is a cheat to take the characterization of 2 completely different characters who had died and apply it to a character going forward. Clara Prime in Series 7 is undercharacterized, and that probably contributes to the lack of chemistry because she's there to be a mystery box first and a character second. Now, once she no longer has to be a mystery box, she's allowed to actually be a character, and that probably helps. But I also feel like the general performance chemistry between her and Capaldi was better than with her and Smith, but also the writing of her was just better later on. Did you know that The End of the Effing World is one of the most critically acclaimed shows on Netflix? And if so, did knowing that change how you approach viewing it? I did not know, and it wouldn't have changed a thing. I remember you saying in your Chibnall ranking video that you didn't like Tasha Owen's death in Exit Wounds. What were your issues with it? A couple of things. The first is that given that we had just gotten a really good introduction of like some of their back history in the previous episode, that kind of spoiled the previous episode. Fragments, I think it was. That partially spoiled that for me because it changed Fragments from being an episode that deepened characters for us to better understand going forward, and it turned Fragments into knife twisting, trying to get us more invested in these characters right before killing them. It felt cheap, and it made a good episode, Fragments, the one before it, feel cheap by association. That's one thing. I think killing both of them was needlessly wasteful. I think Owen's death is handled better than Tosh's. I think Tosh's death is useless, like as a narrative or even a character driving event. I think there was literally no reason to kill two of them other than the fact that they decided they didn't want the full cast back for the next series. Like, it doesn't feel like it's driven by story. It feels like it's driven by the fact that two of the actors aren't coming back. I don't like it. I don't like it. And like, Exit Wounds is already a crap episode, so that doesn't help. Am I in Moose territory? No. I mean, well, technically I'm on the outer edge of Moose territory, but I've never seen a moose. For as long as I've lived in Vermont, I've never seen a moose here. I've seen moose in Maine. There's definitely moose in Maine, but sorry, I'm dropping things. I've never seen a moose in Vermont. I've seen deer. I've hit deer. That's an unpleasant experience. I don't wish that on anybody. Do you think you could recast any Doctor aside from the first one? I don't think you could be so much of his look as the outfit, the hair, looking old rather than act. Sorry, the second half of your sentence, 255, I'm not totally following. I don't think they should be recasting the Doctors at all. I give them a pass on David Bradley because they kind of backdoored him in by introducing him playing William Hartnell in Adventure in Time and Space, and so that softened the blow. But I'm just not in favor of recasting the Doctors just at all. I never have been. To be honest, I was surprised RTD went back to the companion mystery box thing with Ruby, given that Clara wasn't especially well received. Well, it depends on who you ask. Like, I get why people like Clara. I don't get why those people defend that aspect, though, because they do. They do. I think it just comes from this all or nothing sensibility that, like, these other people don't like the thing that I like, so I must defend all of it, even the parts that maybe I shouldn't be defending. I don't know. Nuance is a thing, and it's frequently absent. Purple Raider, back again. Could you explain why you're not the biggest fan of Torchwood Season 2? I agree Season 1 sucks, but I think Season 2 is where they really started to soar. I think mostly it just has to do with I felt like that first episode of the season made a promise that the rest of the season couldn't hold up. That first episode, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, is such a rip-roaring, wonderful, exciting, atmospheric, thrilling, funny, fun adventure. And the season never hits that high again. Like, it peaked right at the start, and it's I think it's got more good stuff in it than season 1. I think the good stuff is better, but like it's got so many lows, and they're the same kinds of lows. I don't know. I feel like if Torchwood Season 2 hadn't had such a great premiere episode for the season, I might think better of it, because that episode alone raised my expectations only for the rest of the season to let me down. Cam Prout, thank you very much for the super chat. Watched a 3-hour RTD interview today. About every episode in his RTD1 run. He defended Love and Monsters and off mic talked about his least favorite episode throughout his run. What is your least? So I think Love and Monsters is not indefensible. I think what Love and Monsters is attempting to do thematically is interesting and worth doing. I don't think it does it well, but I think its ideas are worth trying. But so, like, I don't have a problem with him defending it. I think Love and Monsters is often overhated. It's not a hidden gem, but it's probably not worth the hate that it gets, to be completely honest. My least favorite. My least favorite that he wrote specifically. Ah. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I need to look at a list of all the ones that he himself had written. Honestly, it might be New Earth, which is just a nothing of an episode. Like that thing's it's like what is that? It's nothing. It's literally nothing. Moffat as well. I mean, Moffat. I don't know if I still think Hellbent is the worst thing Moffat ever wrote. It's in the conversation, at least. I don't know what I'd put in its place. Yeah, I think I'm still going to go with Hellbent. Supreme Omega! Back again. Does a bad ending ruin a good story, and does a good ending somehow redeem a bad story? How important does the execution of the ending matter to you? Depends on the medium of the story. So, does a bad ending ruin a good story? Absolutely. Absolutely it does. A bad ending can sap the enjoyment out of an otherwise great piece of work, because even if you try and revisit it, or at least me speaking personally, I'll find myself thinking, okay, this is all good stuff, but it doesn't matter because it still ends in that nonsense. That's the way I felt about Dexter. That's the way I feel about Game of Thrones. But that's also why I mention medium, because like if we're talking TV shows, if it's more episodic, it matters a lot less. Seinfeld had a lousy finale. It didn't really matter though, because it wasn't a serialized story. It wasn't in a continual story. Roseanne, the original run of and like, yes, I know Roseanne turned out to be a horrible human in general, but like that original run of her show, that last season is not good, and last episode is what? But that doesn't ruin the earlier stuff because it's mostly episodic anyway. So that's kind of what I mean by it depends on the nature of the medium. Does a good ending somehow redeem a bad story? Yes, but for a good ending to redeem a bad story, it has to not only be good, it has to justify why the rest of the thing was the way it was, if that makes sense. So like if you've just stumbled along and blundered your way through a story, but you come up with a climax or a twist or whatever at the very end that's really good, that's not going to save it, because I've probably lost my investment long before we got there. However, you can have something that is kind of like, but then it gets made by its ending. That's happened to me a few times. I know I've got better examples than this, but La La Land is coming to mind. Because that is a okay movie. Its ending is really good, and the ending justifies why the rest of the movie was the way it was. And like that is the level you have to do to have a good ending redeem I think bad is an overstatement. I think you can redeem a mediocre or middling story up to that point. But like it has to be good in a way that it's only good because everything else before was what it was. So it actually justifies why everything else was the way it was prior to that. If it's just a good ending tacked onto something that just doesn't work, no, that absolutely doesn't help. Okay. I need to check the Discord in a minute. Hang on. I get what you're saying about exit wounds, though I completely disagree. That's fine, Purple Raider. As long as you understand what I'm saying, I don't mind that you disagree. I think you can get away with it in the first Doctor because he's more of a costume rather than a performance associated with a specific actor. I'm not sure I agree with that. Although, like, I will grant that since he does not have that many surviving stories to many modern audiences, he's more of that than an actor. But I don't think that's true of the whole of the audience. So I'm just going to do this last super chat that's waiting, and then I'll get to the Discord. Don't worry, Carolyn. I saw your reminder. Coyote Azul, better classic Pulp Fiction, Buck Rogers or Flash Gordon? I have very little experience with either one. I don't I do not have an opinion on that. Sorry. Anyways, I gotta hop over to the Discord. Reminder, the Council of Geeks Discord is a Patreon exclusive perk. At $2 a month, you get access to the Discord with lots of cool people. Plus, folks get to ask me questions without having to drop super chats on me. But anyway, hang on. Okay, let's see if I can get through these. Any dating advice you can give? None whatsoever. I'm a horrible person to ask for dating advice. I've never really tried to be part of the dating scene. My shifts between relationships have all come pretty smoothly and organically with people I already knew. I've not since college have I been in a position where I'm like trying to find a date. So I am a horrible person to ask. I've literally never been on a dating app. I have no advice. Don't ask me. I don't know what I'm talking about. What hair products do you use? Not really much of anything. I use sulfate-free shampoo and conditioner, and that's usually it. Occasionally, if it's like humid and my hair is frizzing, I'll put a little of a light cream just to bring it down. But that's about it. Out of curiosity, how many series and movies do you still have pending to watch in your patrons' docket? That depends on how you count them. So I'm in a weird situation with some of that because, so there's the ones that I know what it is they actually want. And I'm going to guesstimate. That's like 50 or so of those waiting. That's a roundabout number. However, there's a bunch of them. Like there's some ones that have been sitting around for a while because they were, I had someone like stay at the, this happened with a couple of people actually, but there's definitely one that has a lot, but there's a couple of people who stayed at the commission tier, and gave me like what their first one was, or maybe their first few, but then stopped responding to me after that. So they've got all these commissions banked, but I can't get hold of them. So if I'm counting those, it's about 100. But like, there's a lot of those that are like, I don't know what to do because I can't get hold of these people. For whatever reason, they like, and this isn't even like a matter of they're not supporting me on Patreon anymore. I can still message them, and I have, and I've tried, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. If I ever catch up on everything else, I need to decide what I'm going to do about that. So when is the next episode of Your and Jesse's analysis of the Alien series coming out? That is a joke about the fact that the last episode of the podcast, we spent the first 20 minutes going off about Alien Romulus instead of Babylon 5. I don't know, whenever there's another Alien movie that we both see around the same time. So, I don't know, about half past never. I assume by now you've seen the linear story play out. I have, actually, earlier today. We're doing that record tonight. I'm not going to give my full opinions here, but I will say this. Not as bad as I was expecting, given how much it was built up. I was expecting a lot worse. Not to say that it's good, but I was expecting worse. In the 5 Doctors, which new pairing of Doctor and Companion worked best for you? I quite liked Tegan and 3. I am right about that, right? It was Tegan and 3 were together? I think so. I don't know. I'm hoping I didn't pull that out of my rear end. Do you think you should tell your partner if them being more successful than you makes you feel inadequate? I listened to a podcast where 3 progressive guys talk about the experience of being a husband and father the other week. They were talking about the pressure of feeling like a provider. Okay, so labels and gender roles, but okay. One of them admitted his wife was making more than him. It might bother him a bit, but in that situation, he's speaking to a therapist or something. He'd never burden his wife with knowing her success is upsetting him in any way. So I would say you definitely need to talk to somebody about that. I think talking to a therapist about it is a good idea. I don't think never talking to your wife about that is a great idea, because like that is a thought that impacts your relationship with her. So not telling her that doesn't strike me as a great idea. I understand talking to a therapist and like trying to get a handle on it maybe first, at least to some degree, but like that doesn't strike me as something to always hide, because that's an active thing, unless you can fully overcome it, that's an active thing that's always going on, and you're just not going to tell your spouse, your partner. Like, the idea of like burden his wife with knowing, I guess it depends on the nature of the relationship. In my mind, the relationship shouldn't be a burden. It should be something to come to an understanding to, and that she might even be able to help with. But the idea that him sharing his pain is a burden to her simply because it's kind of about her, I don't. Again, I can't speak on this guy's marriage. I don't know him. I know nothing about their relationship, but that just feels to me like it's a long-term relationship dynamic that just is not one I would want to be in. That's me. If you feel like something that has a very direct impact on how you view your partner is something that you cannot tell them, that abstractly is a problem. The other day, I came across one of the various videos from supposed far leftists chastising people for supporting Harris when her and Trump are both terrible. Not to the same degree, they're frickin' not. The only point the video made that actually made me think is, if you are only supporting Harris because she is the least bad option, should you be less outwardly enthusiastic about it? Like, if you just view Harris as harm reduction, maybe you shouldn't be retweeting brat memes. If you think, okay, first of all, if you think brat memes are harmful to, like, oh, you're showing too much support, like, what even is that? Okay, so, look. This topic is so exhausting. I'm not mad at you for asking, but, like, this entire topic is deeply exhausting. This idea of, oh, you are too enthusiastic about her because she's awful. Look, I don't love Harris. I like her better than Biden, and I really didn't like Biden. I was still going to vote for him. Was I personally going to do it enthusiastically? No. But if somebody else, first of all, it seems to be a big presumption on whoever posited this particular hypothetical that these people, that the people tweeting brat memes are also the people who are not super enthusiastic. That seems like a massive assumption at their part, but let's assume that it's true for a minute. Let's assume that that actually is true. Somebody is trying to find a way to not be miserable with the person that they are intending to vote for. That's not a freaking crime. It's not. Like, am I super enthusiastic about Harris? No, not in a vacuum. Against Trump, yes. Like, all this stuff just feels like the pettiest bullshit. Who cares? Who cares? Seriously. If you care about outcomes, you care about harm reduction, then you should care about who they're voting for, not whether or not they're sharing memes. Are there any stories where you don't actually care much about the characters or narrative that much, but you'll consume it because you like the world building? You know, that post-apocalyptic fantasy I've mentioned, I'm rereading. I don't really care for the characters or the story that much, but I love the descriptions of how people rebuild in this world with no technology. So nothing leaps to mind, largely because if I'm not interested in your characters, I'm probably not going to finish your story. Like, obviously, you're talking a novel, so, like, a novel is a serious time commitment. And if I don't care about any of these people, I'm probably not going to finish it. Like, I've tried to read Asimov. Great world building. I can't invest in his characters. I couldn't finish 1984. Brave New World. Brave New World I couldn't finish. Amazing world building. But, the initial setup of that thing, holy crap, gave me chills. And then I bailed once it was done with its setup and world building because it got into the characters and I'm like, I don't care about you people. So, no, like, if I can't invest in the characters, I'm not going to stick around no matter how good your world building is, as a general rule of thumb. If it's something longer form, like if it's a length of a movie, fine, I'll watch it to the end and then I'll never watch it again. Why did Constantinople get the works? That's nobody's business but the Turks. As a longtime video game geek, I remember the crash of 1983. and what came after it. So my question is, given the massive layoffs and closures, do you think AA or single A game studios will be able to step into the breach when the inevitable adjustment happens? I certainly hope they don't frickin' try. I don't think it... So, like, a big problem with AAA development is they have these massive bloated budgets that demand massive returns. I don't think smaller indie studios, the so-called AA or the A indie studios, should be even attempting to step into that void. They should keep doing what they're doing, and audiences who actually care about good games will come to them. I don't think anybody should be trying to step into the void that might potentially be left behind as the AAA video games adjust. Because, first of all, they're not going to go away, not completely. There'll be fewer of them. There'll be more consolidations, way more layoffs, and so many executives are going to get massive bonuses that should be immediately taken away and given to the people that they laid off. I would put that into law, I swear to freaking God. But, no, like, smaller studios should do what they do. Don't try and be the big dogs. The big dogs are eating each other and then starving to death. Don't try and be them. Other than to crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and hear the lamentations of their women, what is best in life? Hearing the lamentations of the men. Which is the bigger surprise, Alien Romulus or Prey? Prey. Just because I liked it better than Romulus. I was pleasantly surprised to see you place Alien Isolation high up in the Alien tier list in your trailer spoilers video. Were you able to play it without getting motion sick, or were you basing that rank off what you've heard in the grapevine? I mean, given that that was a visual only reference, that was basically a joke. I've never played it. I would get motion sick almost immediately trying to play it. But I've heard amazing things about it. It seems really good. It seems like it's really well put together. That's in there as a joke, basically. Oh, okay. Stick with me, folks. The 10 worst rated episodes on IMDb for Doctor Who are Orphan 55, Legend of the Sea Devils, Arachnids in the UK, Saranga Conundrum, Timeless Children, Praxeus the Vanquishers, Battle of Renskor Kolos, Can You Hear Me, and Fear Her. Can you hear me? Bite me. The whole lot of you, whoever voted that down there. Who Culture recently made their own ranking, and their 10 worst are Fear Her, Legend of the Sea Devils, Nightmare in Silver, Battle of Renskor Kolos, In the Forest of the Night, Curse of the Black Spot, Orphan 55, Journey to the Center of the TARDIS, Lie of the Land, and Closing Time. Which list do you agree with more? I don't really agree with either one. If you're gonna make me pick, I'll probably go for Who Cultures, if only because the IMDb list, as you would expect, is heavily biased towards the Chibnall era, and I don't like the Chibnall era. There's a lot of really bad episodes in the Chibnall era, but it should not be taking up, what is this? All but one of the bottom 10. No, that's wrong. And like, let's be really clear, IMDb ratings are effed. They're completely useless. They have been for years now. They are about as useless as the user review section on Rotten Tomatoes. Anyways, I am back. Oh, Sophie, thank you very much. Quite generous. I appreciate that immensely. Thank you. When I watch your old videos, it's sad because you don't call us beautiful at the end. Don't ever stop doing that bit. I won't. I ported that over because I forget when exactly I started doing that, but I started doing that initially on the Vera Wild channel. I don't remember when I first started doing that, and I eventually ported that over to the main channel. And yeah, no, it would feel very weird to not say it. Even though I sometimes mess up and give the wrong sign off, because I've on occasion started to give the break room sign off, usually because I shot like break room videos earlier that same day that I shot a main channel video. So, but no, I don't plan to stop, Sophie, and thank you very much. Speaking of commissions, I'm glad someone who's not me commissioned Children of Time. If I ever did a non-culture novel, that'd be it. Well, I'm going to try and read it on the plane. I'm heading to Rose City Comic Con this weekend. I'll be on the con floor Saturday. If anyone's there and you see me, say hi. Reading comics this year for the first time. I'm starting out Hellblazer Volume 1. The Garth Ennis run sounds interesting. Garth Ennis, I stand by what I've always said about him. The man's about 70% as clever as he thinks he is. He is clever. He's just not as clever as he thinks he is. Forgot it was Tuesday. Well, at least it's still 10 minutes or so. Hey, happy to have you here. The ending of Terminator 3, while not making the whole movie worthwhile, does not get its rating up half a point for me. I'd say that's fair, Phil. Yeah, that's a decent ending to a mediocre movie. Read any Girl Genius lately? No, Coyote Azul, I have not. I'm so far behind on that stuff. Wow. Chipmunk snuck into my garage. Oh, fun. Is there any particular way you select Patreon sponsor reviews to do, or is it just the order that they're sent to you? I try. That I do have issues with this, but I do try to do them in the order that they came in. Where that gets snarled up is when it's something that's going to take a lot more time to do, like if it is a full season of television or if it's a book. It's probably gonna fall further behind because I can bang out, this one's a movie, this one's 2 episodes of a TV show, and I can knock those out quickly, whereas trying to find the time to get through a book or an entire season of television is a lot harder. So I try to do them in the order that they came in, more or less, but it gets squirrely because stuff that takes a higher time commitment and is harder for me to get through tends to take... Like, I don't stop doing ones that are quicker while I'm trying to work through one that takes longer. I'll often be doing more of the quicker ones while trying desperately to get through the one that's going to take longer on the side. So it gets slightly jumbled because of that, but more or less in the order that they came in-ish. What Alan Moore works would you recommend to someone who's only just read Watchmen? Swamp Thing. Try his Swamp Thing run. Do you have an opinion on Rachel Talali's Tank Girl movie? Is that different from the 90s one, or is that the 90s one? Hang on. Oh. Huh. I did not realize she was the director on that. Well, I'll be danged. Huh. That is a very fun movie. It is messy. It's messy in the way that 90s stuff can be messy and undisciplined and real rough around the edges. But it's fun. I like it. I did not realize she was the director on that. Huh. Well, dang it. Well, that's cool. We had Dragon Con in my neck of the woods last weekend. Stayed very far away. I've heard that's one of the bigger ones. The Bidding Ghostlight where the doctor says, who was it who said Earthmen never invite their ancestors around for dinner? Must have given you the biggest grin. I have not rewatched Ghostlight in ages. So I actually don't remember that line. What media are you most looking forward to in the rest of the year? I don't know. I'm not really keeping that much on top of what's coming out in the remainder of this year. I don't know. More Hell of a Boss episodes? Like, that's not my actual answer, but that's all that's coming to my head. Oh, yeah. Carowin, big shout out to Ojoy's Sex Toy. That is a wonderful NSFW edutainment comic. It's great. Purple Raider. Put the roll on the R this time. Don't know why I felt the need, but I did. I did it, and you can't undo it. What's your favorite color and number? My favorite color should be pretty obvious, but my favorite number is 79. So, my favorite color is forest green. Is it? I don't know why. I don't want it to say my favorite number. For like, I can't fully explain this, but it feels like a fey trap. It feels like that's something that I should be keeping for me and not freely dispensing. I can't justify that, but that is my gut instinct on that. So I'm not going to tell you my favorite number. What are my thoughts on Barbed Wire? Never saw it. I'm not going to spoil anything in Children in Time, but I will say something that'll make sense after you've read it. The author has a zoology degree. Okay. The Tank Girl film is delightfully bad. Lori Petty says it's the most fun she ever had since she got to be a total bitch the whole time. Lori Petty is a treat. And she's so good. She's so much fun. She is so frequently the best part of most things she's in. Accidentally ended up with a cinnamon stick in my mouth. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. Hoi. Yes, so stuff coming up. There are no Twitch streams this week because tomorrow I am trying to finish up getting all my ducks in a row for work, and then I'm traveling. So no Twitch stream this week. Saturday's video is on bringing dead actors back for roles, which I have very strong thoughts about. So that'll be the topic for Saturday's video. If you are a Patreon supporter, you can already see it. Or a YouTube member. I figured out how to get things up for early access viewing in YouTube memberships as well as with the Patreon. So hopefully I can keep up with that. Let's see. And what else? Well, new podcast Monday. We're winding down the Babylon 5 rewatch, getting close to the end of the show proper, but then we got a few movies, and we got Crusade we're gonna do. And I think that's about it. So I will be at Rose City Comic Con. If you see me, feel free to say hi. I will be masked, so take that into account if you're looking for me, because it's COVID is still a thing. So like maybe more people should be masked and taking care of each other. I don't know. It's a thought. Purple Raider sneaking in with one more super chat. I'm going to head to bed now. It's been great coming back. Just remember, you are beautiful, you are valued, you are loved. Thank you, Purple Raider. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much for joining me. We are going to wrap it up right there. Take care of yourselves. Have a great rest of the week. Have a great September. We'll be back here again doing more of this in 2 weeks. And yeah, so be well, be safe, be kind, and please remember that you are beautiful, you are valid, and you are loved. You are the council, and I am just running the meetings. And until next time, this council is adjourned. McCavity!